There is so much to celebrate in the month of March. Remember, March is the month when we mark International Women's Day. But apart from that, it is also my birthday month. Yeah. I am so glad that I was able to turn another year older. And of course, the month of March is also Endometriosis Awareness Month. And if you can just see how we look, me and my guests, we are all yellow, because yellow is a color of endometriosis awareness. I'm so glad that you could join us for this episode of Her Standards with me, Queen Tambori. Today, all we want to talk about is menstrual health illnesses, particularly endometriosis. We want to understand what it is all about. Why is there so much culture of silence surrounding it? So joining me on today's episode are two amazing, beautiful ladies. I am joined by Doris Muremi. She'll be able to tell us more about herself. And of course, my home girl, she's called Stacy Anyango. Did I get that right? Yes, I'm very happy to have you on the show. Karibu sana to Her Standards. Remember, this is the show where we discuss issues objectively. This is the show for women. This is the show where you get your weekly dose of inspiration. And of course, the show that informs you about many issues that affect us as women. So karibu sana, talk to us on KTN Home across all social media platforms, but you can also hit me up at Queen Tambori on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Our guests for today will introduce themselves and they'll also tell us how we can get hold of them on social media. We are glad to be coming to you from Tamarind Tree Hotel along Langata Road. Beautiful, amazing. You need to come and enjoy it, particularly the customer service. I have experienced it and it is completely amazing. So come and enjoy yourself. Now, allow me to just jump straight into the topic and introduce my guest for today. So, right next to me, I have a beautiful young lady called Stacy Anyango.
Yeah.
Stacy, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Not bad. What do you do?
Thank you so much for having me at the show.
You're welcome.
I'm an Endo warrior, and I'm also an advocacy officer at Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Doris, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
You are the founder of Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Yeah, I like to say out of my pain bore this foundation because I struggled with endometriosis, actually adenomyosis, endometriosis and fibroids for close to about 34 years. Yeah, so, and that's how long, I think it took 33 years before I got my diagnosis of endometriosis. So it was a very, very long struggle. And I vowed to myself that no other woman, no girl should ever have to go through what I went through. You know, to stay with conditions until you start with one, it becomes another condition, then a third condition, and yeah, it was horrific. And and so I founded the foundation. It started off, first of all, as a support group, just bringing women together who were sharing, their struggles with endometriosis. And that's how even Stacy joined. And then later on, we realized there was such a gap with lack of information, in policy in the society about menstrual disorders and conditions such as endometriosis. But I felt in 2019, I registered it now as a foundation. And we were able to actively now start engaging. Like now we are working with the Ministry of Education, trying to see how we can incorporate menstrual health and menstrual disorders education in the new CBC curriculum.
How many members do you have?
We have about 75 members now. Yeah, so, and these are women who are living with endometriosis and adenomyosis, which is like a sister condition, as well as some even have fibroids. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, are you on social media? We like to engage with our viewers real time.
Yes.
So you can face the cameras, tell us where we can find you.
Yes. We can be found on Instagram and Twitter, Endo Sisters EA, Endo Sisters EA, and then on Facebook, Endo Sisters East Africa.
Are you on social media, Stacey? How
I
can we talk to you?
Well, it's a bit complicated.
Okay.
Miss.ile_, that's for Instagram. Facebook is Stacy Anyango.
Stacy Anyango. Good stuff. Remember, you can engage with our guests in real time. If you have any questions, please do not suffer in silence. If you have any questions for them, don't hesitate to reach out, but you can also get, as I had said earlier, on KTN Home, but also you can talk to me directly at KTN Home. Doris, you mentioned something. You know, I remember my first time.
Yes.
Yeah, I know Janet Mbugo has a book called My
My
First Time. My
yes.
First Time.
Yes.
I remember my first time, and if I can remember clearly, because that could have been way, I can't remember, in the 90s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't remember having a conversation, whether it was with my family members or my school regarding menstrual disorders. I had conversation about menstrual health,
Yes.
but the bit about menstrual disorders was conspicuously missing.
Yes. Yes.
And
yes.
I don't think much has changed.
Yeah, much has not changed.
Yeah.
In fact, that's why so many girls are suffering in silence with, endometriosis. And maybe we should unpack what endometriosis
Yes,
is
I
for,
think
for
so.
the
Yes.
sake of the audience.
Yeah.
So endometriosis is like every month a girl has her period, yeah, and the lining of the uterus sheds, and that is what is called a period. Now, when similar lining to that that's found in the uterus is found outside the uterus, in places like the pelvic region, the ovaries, the rectum, the small intestines, the large intestines, even as far up as the belly button, the lungs or the diaphragm, and some people even have it in their eyes, it's been said. Now, when those deposits are found there, that is what is referred to as endometriosis. And those deposits, what happens is that every month when a girl has her period, wherever those deposits are, they also menstruate, they also bleed. So when they bleed, they are bleeding, but remember, they don't have an outlet because they were not ever supposed to be bleeding. Yes, yes, because otherwise when when a girl menstruates or a woman, it's supposed to come out.
Yeah.
So now menstruating in that way, like particularly for endometriosis, it causes a lot of pain because it's blood accumulating in areas it's not supposed to.
There's
so it starts
no exit
causing
for it.
yes, there's no exit. And then also bacterial infection because of being in a place, it's wetness that's not supposed to be there, so the immune system. So you see, you start getting bacterial infection, some pain, you start getting that web-like formation because of things sticking together, blood is sticky. So it becomes so painful. And the problem is, when it starts, it's starting little by little because it's minuscule blood. But imagine someone who's been bleeding like this for 10 years. For another, that blood builds up to the extent that periods become so painful, not only during menstruation, even before and even after. Yeah. So that's what endometriosis is, and it's like a nightmare. And so not talking about it, about menstrual disorders, or saying that that sometimes when you menstruate, sometimes it may not be normal. Sometimes it may be too heavy, it may be too painful. That kind of information makes all the girls think that menstruation is normal. So even when they are going through this pain and this kind of situations, no one will ever go and say, that it's too bad. They feel ashamed to say that it's too painful because they assume all the other girls know how to bear the pain. Yeah. So that's
Thank you for sharing that. Stacy, do you have a recollection of the first time you experienced your periods?
I actually do. What happened was that I started my periods when I was 12 years old, and I had my periods for 6 months. No, actually 3 months.
3 months.
3 months continuously, day by day,
bleeding
bleeding
from
daily.
The beginning of the month for 90 days.
Yes. So we didn't know. There's that thought you don't have so much information. I thought that once you start,
there's no stopping.
There's no stopping. That's it. So I was like, hey, what? If I'm on my periods, I'm having my periods. That's okay. So I went back home.
Was it painful then?
No, it wasn't painful then. I was in body school then. I went back home. My mom sees me changing my pad, and she was like, "Are you not yet done?" And I'm like, "No. Is it supposed to be over?" She was like, "We'll go see a doctor tomorrow." So we went. I consulted a gynecologist. I was given some, I think that time it was a bit of hormonal therapy to just regulate my periods. So after that, that's when I started having the cramps. The cramps became unbearable. You're on Buscopan doesn't help. You're on Panadol doesn't help. So you're just lying there, in your sick bed at school, trying to massage yourself with the bottle
The
with
hot water bottle,
air,
yeah.
hot water
Or
bottle.
towel.
And back then, there wasn't even those the hot water bottles that you use. You could quite the bottle of soda.
Yeah.
You put hot water and then you massage it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing back
Yeah.
in school.
Yeah.
And that went on for about 8 years. That's when I got my diagnosis of endometriosis back in 2019.
You had to wait for a whole
A whole
All-
8 years.
all 8 years.
A whole 8 years for me to have the problem at hand.
So, let me get this clear. So every month you were in pain for 8 years. So what used to happen when you were having your periods in school, in a boarding school?
Okay. Painkillers. I would go to school with the pack. I just carry my painkillers with me.
Yeah.
My mom used to be a pharmacist. I take a bit of my painkillers, nazieka karibu, I go with them to school. So even you'd find that inspection that used to happen when you're coming back from home, going to school, the inspection, and then she's like, "Kwani wewe hujai pona?" You know, because I'm just always with pills with me. I just have pills with me all the time. So that's what I used to manage back at school, because you know you can't be going back home to go see a doctor or something.
Yeah, because it's just
Yeah,
periods.
it's just periods. It's just periods.
Yeah.
And everyone menstruates, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
everyone. Every woman menstruates.
Every woman menstruates.
Yeah. So that's how I used to manage it until after high school, first year, second year university. That's when I got.
Did you ever miss school, or did you ever have an unproductive life because of the pain?
Definitely.
Or what happened?
On a daily. I used to sleep in the sick bay because there's nothing much that could happen. There's that I can't go to class and concentrate. Sorry, the teacher is speaking. I'm there growling. You know, it's also causing a lot of distraction in class. So I just told her, go to the sick bay.
Every end month,
Every
around you,
end
everyone
month.
knew Stacy is on her
Yes,
periods.
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
You know, it's a bit awful.
Yeah.
But there was this time, there's experience of diarrhea during that time. So I remember, the toilets on the school side were not for long calls. You're supposed to go on the other, the farthest ones there.
Yeah.
So the teacher on duty, she's doing her roles and everything. I go ask her for permission. I'm requesting to go to the other side. She's like, "What's wrong? Kwani, you can't wait until your bedtime or something?" I'm like, "No, it's urgent." So she asked me, "What is it that's urgent?" I specified, and I'm like, "I'm on my periods. I have to go make a long call." She's like, "What date is it?" And I told her it's day 3. But even me, my day 3 is not even that bad. Even it's supposed to be finishing. It's supposed to be finishing. So you just go sit down in class and wait until the bell rings, you go. It was a bit hectic.
Ouch. Yeah.
But what can you do?
We'll talk about diagnosis in a short while because Doris, you took how many years to be diagnosed?
Oh my goodness, I took like 33 years
33 years
to be diagnosed, and it's not for lack of going to see doctors.
Yeah.
Because I and like Stacy's example also in high school.
Yeah.
I was that girl who would stain the skirt. In fact, I would wait for everybody to leave class because I've stained the skirt. And when I stand up, it would even come down on my leg. It was really bad, and at this time it was also very extremely painful. Yeah. So of course my mom was called, and I was taken to hospital. But I saw 4 different gynecologists, and you know what they said? That some girls periods, they take pain a little bit harder than other girls. So when she has a baby, she'll be okay. This pain will go. Some of them are a little more sensitive than other girls. So that's what I was told. So after 4 different gynecologists, my mom told me, "Listen, even me, my periods were bad. When I had you, life improved. So now you need to also be strong and just, And so that became my posture. That became my life. And
you were waiting to give birth.
I was waiting to give. In fact, I was waiting now, wondering, okay, I'll have to wait until I give birth. Then I remember in my college days, I went to see another gynecologist. Now of my own choosing, and I went and I saw her, and I told her, what I was going through, and even during the exam, because it was now pap smear, it was extremely painful. And I remember her telling me with such disdain that how can you you know, how can you cringe like that? How do you ever think you're ever going to give birth? You know? Yeah. And then she even made a comment, you must be the girls who, even with your periods, you are just complaining. So that was it. I never told anybody that I had, after that, that I had, you know, period pains. I used to say I have food poisoning. So all people used to know I had a sensitive stomach and that I had food poisoning. That I lied about my diagnosis. Even to doctors, I would say it's food poisoning because I was too ashamed. Because I would wonder now, I've been branded as the person who can't take pain. Yeah, so that's exactly what happened.
My God. Doris has written a book called When Something is Wrong. I think every mother guardian of a daughter needs to grab a copy of this because it has information that you'd otherwise not find anywhere. And probably that is the reason why the Endo Sisters is campaigning and lobbying for it to be part and parcel of the CBC. Doris, if there is a mother, I told you I have a 12-year-old daughter who I'm going to get one of these for her.
Yes.
If there's a mother watching right now, what would you like to tell them?
As a mother, please get
Or father for that
Yeah,
matter,
and a
because
father.
right now we have different kinds of families.
Yes, in fact, this book is for everybody. It's for the entire, you know, for society. It was actually a tool for society, for the mothers, for the girls themselves, for the fathers, brothers, you know, because these are going to be future husbands. Yeah, so it's a book that really breaks down, first of all, what it talks about menstruation, then it talks about abnormal menstruation, situations where now menstrual disorders occur. And actually menstrual disorders, maybe just to not leave the word hanging there, there are really 4 categories of menstrual disorders. Yeah, and the first one is the one that we know, maybe that we don't know of so much, is amenorrhea. Amenorrhea is is when the periods come and then they disappear. You know, you could have primary amenorrhea or secondary amenorrhea. That's maybe it came, your periods come and then they disappear, never to be heard of again until maybe they show up after maybe 5 or so years. Or you could have the secondary amenorrhea where, for example, you start your periods after the age of 17. You know, that's late. I know people, 1 or 2 people who started their periods at 21 years. Yeah. See, that's quite late. Yeah. So that's a sign of abnormality with menstruation. So that's amenorrhea, when they are late or irregular, that kind of thing. The other one is premenstrual syndrome. People always joke about PMS. Indeed, there is, what is considered as just basic, the normal PMS where you feel fatigued and all that, a bit moody and all and everything. But there is another kind that's known as PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. That is a very serious kind of disorder, premenstrual syndrome, because it's like you're not mentally there. You know, what the experience does to somebody is really bad. So you can see somebody flying into a rage. There are people who are fired during working time because of that, or they go crazy at that. They can't really explain their actions. They actually need to see a psychiatrist to be on medication to manage, their mental capacity, their symptoms at that time. So without medication, it can be really, really bad. In fact, such women are known even to commit suicide because of going into such rages and even getting into depression. And then the other one is abnormal uterine bleeding, which can be either bleeding that takes, it can either be what you call the heavy menstrual bleeding, where girls have heavy menstrual bleeding. And I know some who have heavy menstrual bleeding, and it's not even endometriosis, but they just have heavy bleeding, or it could be intermenstrual bleeding, where you keep bleeding in between periods. Like from the last period to this one, you have a kati period, So that's also under abnormal uterine bleeding. So you see, these are all different categories of bleeding. And then the one that we most know of, dysmenorrhea. Dysmenorrhea, which is painful periods. And in dysmenorrhea, there are 2 categories now. There is what they call primary dysmenorrhea and secondary dysmenorrhea. So the primary is the one that makes many gynecologists say, don't worry, this is just normal periods. It's the one associated with the egg moving. You know, the way the egg moves for fertilization. When it's moving, it creates some chemical reaction what they call, is it prostaglandins. So that chemical reaction sometimes causes some discomfort in the stomach, in the uterus, and you know, that kind of feeling. So, but it's not that painful, it's just discomfort. Yeah, so that's the one that gynecologists always say, no, but with periods you get some discomfort. They're referring to that primary dysmenorrhea. Then there is secondary dysmenorrhea, where the pain is not coming from that, you know, that kind of a process.
Yeah.
It's coming from an underlying condition such as endometriosis, adenomyosis, fibroids, polyps, even an STD, the pelvic inflammatory, PID, PID, you know. So those kind of conditions. That's why it's so important for mothers, you know, as you asked me to talk to mothers,
mothers and single fathers.
And single fathers and everybody.
And the fathers
and
as well.
everybody, yes. To take, even guardians, maybe you're an older brother or an older sister, you know, to take your girl for a checkup when she starts complaining about these periods, about a heavy period, because you don't know, is it secondary dysmenorrhea or is it primary? Go and ascertain what it is so that treatment can start early. Because if you don't start early treatment, like for a condition like endometriosis, there is no cure. So early treatment, you know, is what helps to manage the symptoms for a productive quality of life. Otherwise, you know, it can end up being something so bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hope you have your notebook ready, you have your pen, because we're having a really good discussion today. Remember, we are talking about endometriosis. The month of March is Endometriosis Awareness Month. I am learning personally, and I believe that this is a great opportunity for us to learn. Doris is the founder of Endo Sisters East Africa, and of course I'm joined by the beautiful Stacey Anyango, who kind of looks like Doris. Am I right? They look like big and small sisters. But anyway, on how to get this book, you can go to our social media pages, talk to us directly. Our guests already gave out their social media platforms. And of course, if you have any questions, I think this is a really important discussion for everyone, not just mothers, not just fathers, every member of society, including our young women who are already experiencing their menses. Well, we want to take a short break. Don't go far, because we still have an intriguing second part to talk about endometriosis. This is the month of March, and we are creating awareness around the menstrual health, menstrual disorders, particularly endometriosis. We want to understand why there's so much silence surrounding that issue, yet so many women are suffering in silence. I am joined by two amazing women, Doris and Stacey Anyango, who are both members of Endo Sisters East Africa. And of course, my name is Quinta Mbori. I am hosting your favorite show called Her Standards. We want to take a short break. As I said, we'll see you after. Now, we are glad you could join us for the second part of this conversation. This is Her Standards with me, Quinta Mbori. We are coming to you from Tamarind Tree Hotel, a beautiful place where you can come with your friends and relatives and loved ones. Enjoy the ambience, enjoy the services. The customer service is on another level. You need to come here and experience it for yourself. Now, today we are talking about endometriosis, and that is why we are all clad in yellow, because this is the color of endometriosis. As a matter of fact, my guests for today, they have something to tell us about painting yellow. Our nails yellow as women. I don't know whether men are allowed to paint their nails yellow.
men can put something yellow, wear something yellow.
What are men supposed to do?
Put on something yellow.
Put on something yellow, like a yellow t-shirt.
T-shirt. Yes.
So what do they do with it? Then they take pictures.
And then they can take a picture of that and say something, post something about endometriosis that they know, and then they tag as many people as possible. Especially their female friends. Yeah.
You heard that. So the men who are watching, remember, we are in this together. We are all part and parcel of creating awareness around endometriosis as it affects actually 1 in every 10 women, which translates to apparently globally 176 to 190 million women. That is not a small number.
Yes, it's not. Yeah.
Stacey, why do you think there's so much silence around this issue?
First, I would think that lack of education.
Lack of
Yeah, and you can't also blame it on the doctors. Some doctors are not made aware of such. So I think it's basically all behind lack of that education and knowledge about the menstrual disorders that's causing so much silence. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doris, are you doing something about it? The fact that there is no information. Actually, let me tell you something. There is no information, there is no data on the prevalence of endometriosis in this country.
Actually, I'm glad that you raised that up because our foundation is actually in the process of collecting data with Columbia University in the US. So we are actually collecting stories which we are hoping will translate now to published data on endometriosis. And it's not just us, we've partnered with Kenyatta National Hospital and Institute of Primary Research. So it's a combination of those 4 organizations. So hopefully that information will go out and will be published maybe by mid or later this year. And hopefully it will be in one of the journals, medical journals, and then it's taken seriously. Because I think traditionally they have thought that there isn't much, because there are no statistics in Africa. Then they assume that maybe there are not many women with endometriosis. And yet 1 in 10 women with endometriosis is 1 in 10 everywhere, including Africa, you know, in Kenya, Tanzania, everywhere, you know. So it's a big number.
It's a big number. But Doris, do you think there's a possibility that these women who are suffering don't even know that they have endometriosis?
Yes. In fact, I think there are so many women who are suffering, even older women who have probably been living with it and they have no idea that it's endometriosis. So many women, and that's why education is important. In fact, it's the reason why we did the book. We wrote the book. Education. We on our platforms we are always talking. We have posts every day on Facebook, you know, or even on our website, and you know, just talking about endometriosis because we need to speak out about it. And specifically in a more structured manner, we are working with KICD. We actually approached the Ministry of Education, so through KICD, through the new syllabus, the competency-based curriculum, we pushed very hard for the inclusion of both menstrual health management, where we talk now about, in detail about, you know, about menstruation, and also menstrual disorders, so that they understand, kids understand from a young age that there is something like abnormal menstruation or something like menstrual disorders. And that's where they'll find, you know, they'll be taught about conditions like endometriosis. And you know, endometriosis is actually the most prevalent condition for that age group. With all of them who keep getting, you know, the ones who may be, and they say it's about 30% of girls who will end up with a menstrual disorder. In adolescents, of the 30%, 85% of the time it's endometriosis, not any other condition, endometriosis. So you can see how prevalent.
It's prevalent, and diagnosis is key early.
Highly, yes. In fact, our vision for Endo Sisters is actually to promote early diagnosis and to give hope to those who are living with endometriosis. So the early diagnosis, of course, giving that information, one, it helps young girls to be able to advocate for themselves. You know, you can go home and you're telling your mom, and your mother is telling you, well, we all PT'd there.
Panadol. Like I give my daughter, you know, Panadol to put in her pocket.
Yes. Or even telling her that we also went through the same thing and we survived, you know. That's that same narrative. So girls need to be empowered to say, Mom or Dad, I need to go to a facility to be checked because I suspect it is this. They need to be empowered. They need to also share this information with their peers, and just we also help promote a culture of early diagnosis.
I agree with that. Stacey, you were diagnosed 8 years after? No, was it how many years after?
8 years
after you experienced painful cramps. What do you think are some of those telltale signs that parents or guardians or school management, they need to be on the lookout for, so that we do not allow our children to suffer? Because as you've mentioned, early diagnosis leads to better management. Yes. What do you think are some of those things that we need to be on the lookout for? If there's a girl or a parent who's watching, what would you tell them that if their children are experiencing, that they need to take their children seriously?
First, women and girls need to be able to stand up for themselves.
I agree.
To be able to tell that, you know, I'm not feeling well. There's something that's wrong. Yeah? Even to all these other women who are woke and doctors who are woke, you need to be able to stand up and say that, you know what, this is not it. Whatever you're telling me, it is not it. Okay. So what they can do maybe is that whenever, I don't think abnormal crampings, you can tell. You can tell this is not normal. There's a normal where you can be able to sit and continue the day-to-day activities. And then there's that you end up, you just need to lie down, or you end up rolling on the floor. That's not normal. So we need to be able to also understand other girls and women and be like, she needs help. Yeah, she needs help.
So other than the excess bleeding is one of them.
Excess bleeding is one of them. The cramping that just needs a lot of attention, that's not normal.
Diarrhea and constipation during menstruation.
Constipation.
Either constipation or diarrhea during menses.
Like for me, I used to have crampings before my periods, during my ovulation, and also during my menstruation.
Girl, that's like half of the month.
Yes, half of the month. You'll just find I have like a span of a week that I'm just okay, to just breathe and I'm okay, and then I'm back. Taking painkillers, I'm taking painkillers. One thing, you're being given normal painkillers, and it's not helping. You need something more
stronger.
Something stronger.
Did you feel like your life was stolen from you?
It was.
And then maybe importantly is also to add the other symptoms. There is something, there is the lower back pain, that is there. That's really bad. Even sitting for long can be terrible. And then the bloating, what we call the endobelly. You know, when like bloating, you look like you're 5 months pregnant. Because of bloating. And then there's what people get, chronic fatigue, and that fatigue is so bad. It's a terrible fatigue where you can't do anything. You can't, the energy to even stand up and even take a shower. That's like climbing a mountain, you know.
Wow.
It's So feeling that fatigue, and also brain fog. You know, just feeling like concentration is poor. Headaches. Yes, there are people even who get migraines. And the others even who get it down the leg. It's also the leg endometriosis.
I used to have knee pains whenever I'm menstruating, or even before. It was so bad I could struggle a bit in walking.
Knee pain, muscle pain.
Knee muscle pain.
So it can be really bad, and you imagine now the ones who are even bleeding from the belly button, you've got to put a pad here because there's a lot of bleeding.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it can be bad.
Okay. So I hope we've taken note of those uncomfortable symptoms that we may be overlooking, but they actually signify something more serious that definitely needs to get to the doctors. Why do I feel like we should have had this as a live discussion with all?
I know,
with
as a book club.
Because honestly, I think there's so much information that needs to be out there, and it's actually missing. Now, talking of still on endometriosis, I think the most common figure that people are aware of is the radio personality Jambi Koikai. I think that is the most memorable figure, memorable, soldier of endometriosis.
Yes, indeed.
But just going through her recovery journey.
Yes.
First, besides the physical wearing away. If I go through the fact that she did a fundraiser. It was not cheap.
Yes, and expensive.
So Damaris, how much does it cost to manage? Because you mentioned that endometriosis is not curable.
Yes, there's no cure for endometriosis because, and what makes it expensive is because even diagnosis for endometriosis is through laparoscopic surgery. They have to. They can't. You remember the deposit I was talking about? you can't see them.
Yeah, with the naked eye.
You can't see them with your naked eye. So a doctor can suspect the symptoms, and that's why it's important for women and girls to keep a record of your symptoms, yeah, because that helps. So laparoscopy surgery is now when they go in and they check and they're able to identify that. Now when they identify and they assess and they take they do a biopsy, then they know and they're even able to stage and tell you stage 1, stage 2, what stage you have of endometriosis.
Yeah.
Now the gold standard for endometriosis in terms of treatment is excision surgery. Now excision surgery requires very specialist skill because it's like cutting it out. What is normally done here in Kenya is ablation surgery, which is like the burning of the deposit, not really the scooping in, because that takes a lot of expertise. I think there are some doctors now, I know Aga Khan Hospital have started doing some excision surgery here. But you see, there are yet to be more doctors who will be doing it. That's what makes it now difficult for women to get treatment here in Kenya. Many of them are looking to go out to different countries, the US, Romania, India, because they have excision specialists who can be able to treat those conditions. And of course, when you think of somebody like Jambi, I mean, thoracic endometriosis, what she had was very sensitive, and it required very specialist care again. So, and you know, to be able to operate on her. So, it's the skill. So we also are pushing for our doctors, medical community, to also enhance their skills in excision surgery, so that people don't have to travel. They can do it here locally. So when you ask about the amount, it's quite expensive. It's about maybe 3 to 5 million, I think, and that's a conservative estimate, considering that even insurance does not cover for this surgery. They don't cover because they associate, you know, endometriosis is a leading cause of infertility. And so because many women who have been found to be infertile, many of them, when they look at the background, the history, they find it's endometriosis. So I think the link between the unfair link between endometriosis and infertility makes maybe insurance think that, oh, these people, their whole aim is to conceive. So they've been very difficult about covering endometriosis.
Actually, a good time to have this conversation because we have elections. So we make sure that we vote leaders who think about our health, especially women. I think it's very, very important. You know, the story about Njambi was very strange because I know many people, including myself, I was struggling to reconcile the fact that she was suffering from endometriosis and then she had a collapsed lung. Yeah, but the way you explained it, some of those sediments actually grow up the organs.
Yes. And that's what is referred to as thoracic endometriosis. Yes. The one that now the bleeding will take place even the time when she's on her menses, because that's the time now even the lung will be affected because of the deposits that are there.
Oh my God, anyway.
And it's actually more common. People thought thoracic endometriosis wasn't common. There are quite a number of women, even aside from Jabi, who have been suffering from thoracic endometriosis. I think we have maybe 2 or so even in the group.
Well, you mentioned a misconception earlier on. That people, or rather warriors of endometriosis, are advised to have children early. Does it help?
Well, the doctors, let me put it this way. Doctors will put it this way, that the earlier, you've got a better chance of conceiving, that if you conceive earlier, you have a better chance of getting children, because maybe the egg quality, maybe the eggs is still there. But the reality is this: you will not wake up today and say, I'm going to get pregnant so that I just have children. I mean, there's a process to getting children.
What about people like Stacey who are still in school?
Yes, when you do it when you're still in school, there's your whole life. You don't, it's not just mechanical that you can, you just think of having children. So I think there was that imbalance. But today though, even in Kenya, women have the option of freezing your eggs. You can have your eggs harvested and you freeze them. The only problem is it's so expensive
Expensive.
to do that. So that is what I have seen in the US, what the celebrities with endometriosis are doing. They're able to do that, but it's quite sad actually.
It's quite sad.
Yeah.
Stacey, after your diagnosis and surviving with endometriosis, have you made any lifestyle adjustments? Are there things that you have to do in order to manage the condition, to manage the pain?
Yes, there is. I have been doing acupuncture as a way of trying to manage it. I didn't go for hormonal therapy, so I tried something a bit different, and I had to cut off. You go diet a little, but that was all.
And Chinese therapy.
The acupuncture is actually Chinese hormonal therapy. That's how they do the therapy. So besides that acupuncture, I'm also on meds, the Chinese herbal medicine.
And that makes you feel comfortable.
It has. It really has. It has done a lot for me, because I was trying to think. I didn't want to force myself into hormonal therapy, with Zoladex and all that. I didn't want to do that. So I tried something a bit different, which has actually really worked for me. I've also been reading some articles. People they're actually trying it outside there. So it worked for me. For me, it worked for me. That's what I chose, and it worked for me.
So has your life almost normalized?
It has.
Yeah.
I can't lie, it has. I'm able to go to, now I can go to work, and it's day 1, day 2, and you find me at work, and I'm working quite well. There are months that can be, things just happen, and you find myself at home. It's a bit hard. I can't go to work, but it's a bit normal. It's close, very, very close to normal.
What is your worst fear?
My worst fear is endo reoccurring.
Endo recurring.
For now, I consider myself, I'm close to someone who's having normal menstruation. So my fear is that it reoccurs, and the fear of also not having children in the future, because children are definitely in the future.
Oh, so are they in your future? In your plan?
They're in my plan. So that thought, you'll find it always haunts you. Like, hey, what happens? What if I don't have kids? But there are always options. There's adoption, there's surrogacy, and I'm open to it. The one thing that I thank God for is that I accepted it. I accepted it, and I'm trying to plan now for the future. The only thing now, it has made me so future-oriented that I'm not able to focus on, enjoying my life.
Enjoying now.
I just think about the future.
And the symptoms of endometriosis can be different for different women. So treatment can't be one. It's not. You can't say that this treatment.
One whatever fits all.
One thing fits all. No, different women react differently. Like her, she talks about alternative medication, and it's working for her. There are people who it would not work. I could use medication, and maybe that will work, or it didn't work. For me, nothing was working. I think the thing, I went into menopause. For me, that's what worked.
So right now you're not feeling
super.
You don't.
I feel nothing. Because I finally went into menopause. So that for me was the godsend.
Life. It was life-saving. It
was life-saving. But you can't say this to a 20-year-old or a 15-year-old who's got a whole life
ahead of them.
There's
something Stacey mentioned about the fears and the futures and the reality of, living with endometriosis. Now, as the founder of Endo Sisters East Africa, what do you always tell your members or women just been diagnosed with endometriosis, and obviously you can sense the insecurities that they're dealing with?
Yes. In fact, that's a great question. That's why we have the group. We have the support group as a safe space for women to share what are these insecurities. Because sometimes I always try and bring in the notion that nobody knows about tomorrow. True. And at the end of the day, we know that there's no cure for endometriosis, but we know at the end of the day, God is the one who heals, ultimately. So we try and keep hope alive through through God, because we say that we like referring to the Bible. There's that quote about the woman with the issue of blood, the one who was healed, and she was healed,
yes, she was,
miraculously. So people, it's possible that anything can happen. So we always encourage women, just keep your hope in God. At the end of the day, you don't know. I believe, honestly, I believe God intervened in my situation because my menopause came early. And I believe that was his way of just healing me. So you see, anything can happen, and it stops being a problem. Even your surgery can be successful, excision surgery, and then the chances of recurring, it just doesn't recur. Yeah, so it's just about keeping hope, keeping a positive attitude, living each day at a time. Yeah, thinking about, now I'll never know. What did you manage today? And appreciating, being grateful for today, that you survived today. Because, the endometriosis is about being the warrior, endo warrior, So just, you made it through today, that's a great accomplishment. You woke up, you were able to do 1 or 2 tasks, whatever. I mean, that's just something. Or it was a bad day, but you got through it. Or you survived through it, You're still awake the next day, So it's just about encouraging each other. And this is a journey you cannot walk alone. You need the shoulders, you need the hands of everyone else. And just to encourage each other. There are days you feel like, why? I don't even want to go on. Yeah. But, you think, you remember that sometimes there are better days, there are good days. So you will live for that good day that's coming, because there's a lot that you can do. Yeah.
Also, at the foundation, we newly introduced group therapy sessions.
Yes.
Where we meet with the ladies in the group and other therapists. We talk, we cry, we share,
Yeah, and we talk about very painful things that maybe you're going through. Exactly.
And that helps.
That helps. That helps. Therapy has been good.
Good stuff. Stacey, when you're not thinking about, the effects of endo on your life, what do you do when you want to have a good time? And you're living in the moment. Yeah.
We actually advise to cut alcohol.
Because
alcohol, it's estrogen and alcohol
are not
good
friends.
But I like some alone time. I like some me alone time. So you'll regularly find me indoors. Just treat myself, watch some movie, clean a lot. I barely get to do outdoor activities. It's not like endo has stopped me from doing it.
I hope it's not endo that has stopped you from doing it.
I can do it, but I just choose.
It's just who you are. Good stuff. Thank you for coming. As we finish, Doris, because time is not on our side, unfortunately, but we have a whole month.
Yes. Yeah, and maybe we can share some of the activities.
Maybe, why not?
Yeah, that we are planning on doing. Well, we are participating in the Worldwide Endo March. It's an online celebration or recognition of endo that's done, I think, from the US. And so we are part of that. You just record a video and then, about what you're doing about endometriosis in your country. So that, I think, should air on 26 March. And then locally, we are partnering with 2 other local organizations, and Endometriosis Foundation of Kenya and Yellow Endo Flower, to have a forum on an online forum, for endo warriors, what we are calling a Patients Day on the 12th of March. So that is something else. And and we continue to talk a lot on our, to highlight on our website and on our social media. This month we are focusing on demystifying endometriosis. So the myths that are around endometriosis.
I wish we knew about the yellow nail polish. We would have wound up the show painting our nails yellow, but don't worry, we will still paint our nails yellow, and of course paint the world with enough information around endometriosis. Remember, this is a disease that does not choose any age, although it chooses gender, it affects women. And on this show, on Her Standards, we are all about addressing issues, even the difficult ones, and of course giving you information on issues that you need to know. Today has been a wonderful show. It has been a wonderful experience, even for myself. We are creating awareness around endometriosis. This is a menstrual disorder. It's a very silent topic, but on Her Standards, we are not scared, we are bold, and we like to empower you. I have been joined by amazing ladies from Endo Sisters East Africa, beautiful inside and out, looking yellow, yellow. And you've definitely had a good time. The beautiful location where we are shooting this episode of Her Standards is the Tamarind Tree Hotel. I don't need to say much, you need to come and see it for yourselves. Now we are available across all social media platforms at KTN Home. Talk to me at Queen Tambori. You can also hit up our guests on their direct social media platforms. And before I go, I would like to send a special shout out to my glam squad. Thank you, Posh Palace, for the amazing hairdo. I've been receiving a lot of questions and feedback and good remarks. If you want to get, for all your hair issues and problems and solutions, you need to visit Posh Palace. Hi, Susan. And of course, the bling is from one amazing young lady called Nkaya Designs, made in Kenya. Please go to social media, check out what they do, and of course, support them. Now, from here at KTN Home and the crew, we just want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for keeping us company from the beginning till the end. Remember, don't stop until everyone is aware of endometriosis. Till next time, my name is Queen Tambori. Bye for now.